Babes, welcome back to the Snark Side. We love you, we see you, and honestly, adulthood is just trying to recover from one absolute disaster before the next one starts.
Truly, it is an endless cycle of emails and existential dread.
Literally.
Yeah.
So if you are tuning in right now, consider this a safe space. I have a massive vodka cranberry on deck because it has been one of those weeks. And we are about to rip into episode 9 of Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed.
Cheers to surviving another soul-crushing workday, honestly. I am currently drinking sparkling water out of a wine glass because I'm trying to manifest a life of luxury and hydration.
You are giving delusional wellness influencer, and I completely support it.
Thank you. I try.
But before we get into the absolute chaos of this penultimate episode, which, by the way, I am still hyperventilating over, we have to debrief on real life.
Oh, we have to.
Tell the Snark Squad about your day, because being a dentist right now feels like we are frontline workers in the war against bad hygiene and just like worse personalities.
It is a war zone. The clinic was a nightmare today. I had a patient, right? A fully grown adult man with a mortgage and a 401k.
Oh no.
He tried to bite me.
Stop it. He tried to bite you.
Yes, because I told him he needed to floss more than once a year. He looked me dead in the eyes and said flossing is a scam invented by the string industry.
A string industry? Are you kidding me? Big String is out to get us.
I wish I was making this up. I mean, the biggest challenge is just maintaining a professional, sterile demeanor when someone is actively spouting conspiracy theories while my hands are literally inside their mouth.
I would have lost it. I would have dropped the mirror.
I almost did, but the best part of the day was definitively clocking out. Though I will say, I was completely caught off guard when my receptionist told me she's quitting.
Wait, really? Where is she going?
She is leaving to become a full-time TikTok tarot card reader.
Honestly, good for her.
Yeah.
She is securing the bag without having to deal with Big String.
Exactly. I respect the hustle. How was your day?
Oh, equally chaotic. I had a teenager ask me if I could file his canine teeth down to look like a vampire.
No! Tell me you were joking.
I wish I was. He is going through this massive twilight phase, and I had to sit there and gently explain that enamel does not grow back, and Edward Cullen is not a realistic dental icon.
Kids are terrifying.
Yeah, really are. But the highlight of my week, hands down, is my new apartment building. Babes, I have officially become obsessed with my luxury condo.
Oh, God. Here we go. I give it 2 weeks before you hate everyone in that building.
No, I am thriving. I am using the amenities. I sit in the eucalyptus steam room like a glamorous lizard.
A glamorous lizard? That is a visual.
It is, and I am running into neighbors by the cold plunge. I mean, I haven't learned a single person's name, obviously.
Obviously. Why would you talk to people?
Right. I just assign them nicknames based on their dog breeds. Golden Doodle Guy is very flirty, by the way.
Are you flirting with Golden Doodle Guy?
Maybe. I am trying so hard to give wealthy, unbothered influencer vibes, even though I am literally eating dry cereal for dinner because I refuse to pay for grocery delivery.
The juxtaposition of sitting in a eucalyptus steam room and then going upstairs to eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch out of a mug is like the defining millennial experience.
It is balance. Speaking of wellness delusions, though, I want to debate your newest obsession.
Oh, boy.
You have been texting me constantly about how evening walks are curing your anxiety. Do you actually believe that, or are you just trying to justify buying those $300 orthopedic sneakers?
Okay, first of all, those sneakers are an investment in my spine.
Sure they are.
And second of all, yes, both things can be true. I am telling you, going for a walk after dinner is secretly free therapy.
Is it really?
Yes. You get some fresh air, you catch up on life, you listen to a messy podcast, preferably ours, obviously, and suddenly the fact that a patient yelled at you doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of nice.
It is. I have become one of those insufferable people who gets genuinely emotional over a good sunset.
See, I remain skeptical. Walking aimlessly just gives me more time to overthink every social interaction I've had since, like, 2014.
You just need a better playlist. Or to walk faster so you're too out of breath to think.
True. But it did bring me to my latest dating realization. I was on a walk, a short one, and I was thinking about the absolute trenches of the dating apps lately.
The trenches! It's a war out there.
And I realized something pathetic. The biggest green flag right now is someone who simply communicates.
Oh, wow. The bar is in hell.
It is literally buried in the Earth's core. Just a text that says, hey, running 10 minutes late, or I had a great time. The bare minimum somehow feels extraordinary right now.
It really does.
Have our standards plummeted to the center of the earth, or has the dating pool actually become a toxic waste dump?
The dating pool isn't a dump, it's an active crime scene. The standards haven't dropped, they've completely dissolved. People are so averse to vulnerability that basic human decency feels like a grand romantic gesture.
It's so depressing.
My healthiest relationship right now is definitively with my air fryer.
Oh my God, yes. The air fryer never lies.
It never leaves me on read, and it always makes my sweet potato fries perfectly crispy. It is a secure attachment style.
The ultimate secure attachment. But, babes, enough about our own relationship delusions. We have to get into maximum pleasure guaranteed because these people somehow make our dating lives look incredibly stable.
Stable is a strong word, but I definitely take your point. This episode was unhinged.
The shift in this episode is something I am still struggling to process. Up until this point, right, we thought we were watching this gritty, localized, personal stalker thriller.
Yeah, just a classic blackmail setup.
Exactly. Paula, our chaotic queen, has been dodging Dennis. And Dennis was this terrifying, violent fixer shaking people down alongside Trevor the camboy. We all bought into the premise that this was a cash blackmail ring.
You have a dark secret, I have a webcam recording, you pay me $10,000 in unmarked bills, and I keep my mouth shut. It is the oldest, most reliable criminal transaction in the book.
Right. But Paula finally goes full bulldog mode with her investigative journalism skills. She tracks down the other victims that Trevor compromised on his streams, and she uncovers that they were never asking for cash.
Which is wild.
They were extorting these people for systemic influence and high-level corporate favors, and I feel like the rug got completely pulled out from under me.
See, I am actually obsessed with this pivot.
You are? Why?
Because extortion for influence is a fundamentally more terrifying concept than cash blackmail. It operates completely invisibly within the systems that run our society.
Okay, I am struggling with it, though. Look at the first victim she talks to, Florian Kurtz.
Right, the food science guy.
He is the head of food science at some massive corporation. Dennis uses the compromising webcam footage to force Florian to steal and hand over the highly confidential specifications to a proprietary industrial yeast patent. I hear industrial yeast patent, and my eyes immediately glaze over. How is yeast supposed to be as scary as a guy with a gun breaking into your house?
Because you are thinking about yeast like a baker, not a billionaire.
Okay, explain that to me.
You need to look at the economics of the food science industry. Industrial yeast isn't just about making your sourdough bread rise. These proprietary bioengineered strains dictate the manufacturing processes, shelf life, moisture retention, and flavor profiles of baked goods, brewing, and pharmaceuticals on a global scale.
Wait, really? It's that big of a deal?
We are talking about intellectual property that dictates billion-dollar supply chains. When Florian surrenders those specs and the rival company Northeastern Food Group beats him to the patent office, they essentially secure a monopoly on a foundational ingredient. That patent is worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay, when you explain it like that, it sounds like a literal Bond villain plot.
Yeah.
But it feels so abstract. It's a bunch of guys in suits trading papers. It just doesn't feel like a thriller anymore.
That is the horror of it, though. The violence isn't a guy with a gun. The violence is a corporation stealing decades of research and manipulating the global market without ever leaving a fingerprint.
I guess.
And it gets darker. Paula finds Joyce, the admissions administrator at Yale University.
Oh, that scene was so tense.
Joyce confesses that Dennis didn't drain her bank account. He forced her to completely bypass the rigorous academic standards of the Ivy League to guarantee admission for one specific kid, Blake Vanderwall.
And this is where Paula's corkboard with the red string finally pays off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she cross-references the stolen yeast patent and the rigged Yale admission. She looks up this kid, Blake. She investigates his parents, William and Cecilia Vanderwall.
The masterminds.
And she discovers they run a massive, ultra-exclusive advisory firm called the Suitor Group.
And sitting right there at the top of the Suitor Group's client roster is Northeastern Food Group. The puzzle pieces lock together perfectly. Dennis isn't a mastermind. He isn't a lone wolf sociopath. He is literally middle management. He is a violent errand boy on the payroll of a sprawling, billionaire-funded corporate espionage ring.
I hate it. I actually hate it so much.
Why? It's brilliant.
I know I am in the minority here, but it feels like a total bait and switch.
Yeah.
We spent 8 episodes terrified of Dennis as this boogeyman. It felt intimate. It felt like something that could happen to anyone who accidentally clicked the wrong link on the internet, you know?
I mean, sure, it was localized.
Now suddenly we're in a sprawling corporate conspiracy with bespoke suits and glass boardrooms. I am with the Reddit snark squad on this one.
Oh, you mean the thread where everyone was complaining about their suspension of disbelief?
Yes. Specifically, user Inosnate VR. They wrote, and I quote, I think that the show would have been stronger as a thriller if it had stayed more grounded and kept Dennis as the big bad villain, rather than expanding it to the big conspiracy cliché with some corpo spy assassination guild.
A corpo spy assassination guild.
That's what they called it. And he said, I feel like it's pushing my suspension of disbelief. I found Dennis a lot scarier when I thought he was just some lone sociopath.
Yeah.
And I am entirely on their side. A lone sociopath is terrifying because it is random and unpredictable. A shadowy corporate spy guild feels like a Marvel movie plot.
I fundamentally disagree with you and with that Reddit user.
Go ahead, psychoanalyze me.
A lone sociopath is a localized threat. You can lock your doors, you can move to a new city, you can buy a weapon, you have agency against a single person.
Okay, fair.
What the writers are doing here is elevating the genre to examine institutional evil. The Suda Group represents a threat you cannot outrun. They control the universities, they control the food supply, they control the legal system.
Another user, Adrian Picas, jumped in and argued that a psycho trying to cover his tracks feels way less cartoonish than a massive company that seemingly leaves a body count everywhere it goes. Are we really supposed to believe that a billionaire firm is just murdering people left and right for yeast?
They aren't murdering people for yeast.
That's what it looks like. At what point are we pushing the boundaries of what a disgraced, unemployed magazine fact-checker can realistically uncover on her MacBook over a long weekend?
But the body count is exactly why the Suda Group employs someone like Dennis in the first place. They insulate themselves. William and Cecilia Vanderwall aren't pulling triggers, they are simply identifying leverage.
Where they keep their hands clean?
Dennis handles the messy physical reality of that leverage. I find it chillingly realistic. The scariest monsters aren't hiding under your bed with a knife. They are sitting in boardrooms, weaponizing other people's secrets to rig the capitalist system in their favor.
Okay, communist, calm down.
I'm just saying, Dennis was a symptom. The Suda Group is the disease. Paula thought she was treating a localized infection, and she just discovered stage 4 systemic cancer.
The medical analogies are hitting very hard today, doctor. I hear what you're saying, I do, but my heart still misses the simplicity of a good old-fashioned stalker. However, as the scale of these villains has exponentially expanded into this massive corporate entity, Paula's tiny little squad of allies is finally violently coming back together.
The reunion we've all been waiting for.
We need to talk about the awakening of Rudy because my jaw was physically on the floor.
It is objectively the most triumphant and darkly hilarious sequence of the entire season.
Let us paint the picture for the Snark Squad in case they blacked out during this scene. Jennifer, the lethal hit woman who has been posing as a fake lawyer for weeks, is tracking the GPS signal of Dennis's burner phone.
Which is terrifying.
We know that Paula's skittish coworker, Rudy, accidentally turned that phone on a few episodes ago and just kept it in his apartment. So Jennifer masks up, silently picks the lock, and breaks into Rudy's place, fully expecting to find Paula or Dennis.
Instead, she finds Rudy,
Just sitting on his couch.
peacefully reading a book, completely oblivious to the danger he is in.
I rewatched this scene 5 times. Rudy looks up, sees a masked assassin standing in his living room, and Charlie Hall delivers the most deadpan, phenomenal line reading in television history.
It was so good.
He just says, I think you're in the erroneous apartment.
Which is where the episode gets its title.
Yes. He doesn't scream. He tries to politely correct the assassin's navigation.
And before the word apartment is even fully out of his mouth, Jennifer grabs his glass bong off the coffee table and absolutely obliterates it across the side of his head.
I screamed. The sheer brutality of the physical comedy is brilliant. But beyond the shock value, you have to look at the psychological transformation this triggers in Rudy.
Oh, this is my favorite part to analyze.
Right. Because all season long, his defining trait has been crippling anxiety and risk aversion. He actively avoids danger. He's the guy who double-checks the locks, refuses to walk down a dark alley, and constantly tells Paula to stop investigating because it's too dangerous.
He is a human panic attack. That's his whole personality.
Yeah, exactly. And the psychological irony here is profound. His absolute worst, most irrational nightmare of a violent assassin breaking into his safe space and attacking him unprovoked actually materializes.
But it doesn't destroy him.
No. Surviving that attack frees him. The anticipation of pain is often worse than the pain itself. The worst thing happened, his head is bleeding, but he lived.
It is the ultimate exposure therapy. Getting concussed by his own glassware snaps him out of his paralysis. And more importantly, the Reddit fans pointed out that this attack serves as undeniable physical proof that Paula wasn't crazy.
Oh, totally. User Stace90 commented, when Rudy said you're in an erroneous apartment, I literally laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
And Gullible Raspberry 76 captured the collective relief, writing, thankfully Rudy is safe. What a badass. I was about to take someone out if he was killed off.
I would have rioted.
Charlie Hall's performance anchors this entire transition from terrified bystander to active participant.
And what does he do with this new active energy?
He marches straight over to Jerry's place.
He marches over to bridge the massive rift between the three of them. I need your opinion on Jerry, by the way, because I'm so conflicted.
No, I have a thought.
Because before this episode, Gary had essentially sold Paula out. She was using Paula's chaotic, life-threatening situation as fodder for a selfish career-climbing article for the magazine. She completely disregarded the very real danger her friend was in just to get a byline.
It was a sociopathic betrayal of friendship, driven entirely by blind ambition.
Sociopathic, really?
Yes, Jerry is a social climber who views other people's trauma as raw material for her own advancement.
Okay, that is harsh. I don't think she's a sociopath. I think she's just young and desperate to break out of fact-checking and become a real writer in a dying industry.
I mean, everyone wants a promotion, but you don't throw your friend under the bus for it.
But Rudy, freshly awakened by a bong to the skull, lays it all out for her. He tells her about the hit woman, the attack, and he appeals to her ego. He tells her she is a good enough writer to build a career without having to cannibalize her friends' lives.
And it works.
She drops the story. She apologizes. The trio is back together. I thought it was a beautiful moment of redemption.
I refuse to give her a redemption arc for doing the bare minimum.
You are so unforgiving.
Why couldn't she just believe Paula from the beginning? It literally took Rudy bleeding from a head wound for her to realize she was being a terrible friend. It diminishes her character entirely.
How does it diminish her?
She didn't drop the article because it was the morally right thing to do. She dropped it because the physical evidence of danger finally outweighed the potential benefit to her career.
The fans were thrilled, though. User Astronauty6853 said, I'm happy the trio is back. I think you are being way too cynical. People make mistakes when they are blinded by ambition. It takes a shocking external event to shatter the rationalizations we build for our selfish behavior.
I guess.
Rudy's trauma was the wake-up call Jerry needed to realign her moral compass.
It is a highly realistic portrayal of how ambition warps empathy. I will give you that. It is messy, and I appreciate the show's commitment to flawed characters, even if I find Jerry personally repulsive.
You would definitely diagnose her with narcissistic tendencies. But the reunion of the work trio creates this incredibly tragic contrast with what is happening in Paula's domestic life.
Do not even get me started.
While her colleagues are finally validating her reality and stepping up to protect her, her actual family is exiling her into the cold.
The domestic storyline in this episode is where the emotional devastation of the season just reaches its peak. The suitor group conspiracy is intellectually stimulating, but the family court dynamics are visceral and harrowing.
It is breaking my heart. Paula's home life is ash.
Literally ash.
The news of her arrest for a double murders Dennis committed and framed her for, by the way, has leaked into her suburban social circle. She has faced the ultimate modern excommunication.
She has been formally expelled from the Soccer Moms group chat.
Which sounds trivial, right? Like a punchline about suburban culture.
Yeah.
But socially, it is catastrophic. It signifies the complete erosion of her community support system. The village she relied on to help raise her child has locked the gates.
And it gets infinitely worse. Because of the arrest, the family court judge has abruptly moved up her custody hearing for her daughter, Hazel, to the following week.
Which is insane.
This is despite the fact that Paul is out on bail and hasn't been convicted of anything. Her ex-husband, Karl, played by the usually lovable Jake Johnson, and his aggressive new wife, Mallory, are weaponizing this arrest to push for a total relocation.
They want to move out of state.
Yes, and sever Paula's custody entirely.
This is where the thematic brilliance of the writing shines. Mallory is weaponizing her extensive knowledge of the legal system to isolate Paula and extract Hazel.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a micro-level reflection of how the suitor group weaponizes leverage to control their victims on a macro level. Both Mallory and the Vanderwalls are using institutional power to destroy vulnerable people for their own benefit.
I am so glad you made that connection. They are both just manipulating the rules of the game to crush someone who doesn't have the resources to fight back. The climax of this domestic nightmare happens when Paula tries to attend Hazel's school art show. Karl physically intercepts her in the hallway and kicks her out. He claims he is doing it to protect Hazel from the gossip of the other parents.
It is an act of supreme cowardice disguised as paternal protection.
I have never hated a character more. The Reddit backlash against Karl is completely unhinged right now. User KeyBumblebee9163 posted, "Who knew Jake Johnson could be so unlikable?"
Right. He's usually the fun, goofy guy.
And they are so right to be mad. We need to dissect Karl's hypocrisy because it is staggering. Karl knows Paula didn't commit those murders. He knows it for a fact.
How does he know?
Because he is the one who bailed her out in episode 7.
He possesses the truth, but he lacks the spine to act on it.
Yes. He passively followed Mallory's aggressive legal strategy anyway. I have dated men exactly like Karl, and it triggers my fight-or-flight response.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
At what point does his passive compliance become just as toxic as Mallory's active malice? He is watching Mallory burn Paula's life to the ground, and his defense is essentially, well, I'm not the one holding the match.
It is the banality of complicity. Karl represents the very real danger of taking the path of least resistance in a relationship.
He just wants an easy life.
He doesn't want to fight his new wife. He doesn't want to deal with the social stigma of standing by his arrested ex-wife. So he convinces himself that legally kidnapping Hazel is what is best for the child. It is a pathetic rationalization to avoid conflict.
Pathetic is the perfect word.
The audience's hatred of Karl is a testament to how accurately the show portrays the mundane cruelty of a weak man.
And then there is Mallory. The vitriol for her is off the charts. There was a rampant fan theory on the subreddits for weeks that Mallory might actually be secretly involved in the Suitor Group conspiracy.
I saw that. People thought she was a corporate plant sent to destabilize Paula.
Which is a fun theory, but ultimately gives Mallory way too much credit.
Oh, totally. User Punstoppable noted after this episode, "I retract my comment last week thinking Mal is somehow involved. They would have spent time setting that up this week, and they didn't."
It turns out Mallory isn't a brilliant corporate spy. She is just a fundamentally terrible, selfish person who wants to erase her husband's past. Which, honestly, might be worse. She is destroying a mother-daughter bond just out of pure spite and jealousy.
She is an antagonist operating entirely within the bounds of family law, which makes her far more frustrating than an assassin with a sniper rifle. You can shoot an assassin, you cannot shoot a custody lawyer.
A depressing but accurate point. However, amidst all this domestic trauma, there is one shining beacon of hope, one absolute glaring green flag.
Okay, romantic. Who is it?
Steve. The incredibly cute soccer coach actually shows up for Paula. He goes out of his way to visit her, and he brings her a stack of printed photographs from the art show that Karl kicked her out of.
It is a tactical move on his part to show allegiance.
It is a romantic move. It is a small gesture that proves he believes in her innocence. He isn't swayed by the group chat gossip. He sees her. The fans over at Armax Pleasure Guaranteed are shipping this so hard. User Solitude is Bliss said, "Steve is such a gem. I hope they end up together eventually. I am fully on board the Steve train."
See, I remain cautious.
Why? Can't you just let people be happy?
When your entire world is telling you that you are a criminal, a bad mother, and a pariah, having one person outside of your inner circle validate your reality is intoxicating. It provides the emotional fuel Paula needs to keep investigating. But we know nothing about Steve's actual motivations. He could just have a massive savior complex.
Stop ruining romance with your clinical diagnoses.
Okay.
Let me have my soccer coach fantasy. Regardless of his motives, he gives Paula the strength to keep pushing. And thank goodness she does, because while her family is isolating her, the authorities are finally starting to wake up.
Thank God.
We have to discuss the police, because the gears of justice are finally, agonizingly, starting to grind.
The procedural elements of the show finally kick into gear here.
All season, we have been screaming at our screens. The police have been completely oblivious to the massive corporate conspiracy happening in their jurisdiction. They locked Paula up and threw away the key based on planted evidence.
It was so frustrating to watch.
But in this episode, Detective Gonzalez finally decides to verify Paula's seemingly unhinged, frantic claims.
It marks a pivotal shift in the narrative structure. Gonzalez visits Rikers Island. She doesn't just ask questions, she pulls the actual physical security logs from the visitation room.
Which they should have done on day one.
And she verifies the impossible truth. Paula was indeed visited by 2 different women, both using the name and credentials of attorney Rebecca Halliday on the exact same afternoon. One was the real attorney, and one was Jennifer, the hit woman.
The moment Gonzalez sees those 2 signatures on the log, the entire paradigm shifts. She stops looking at Paula like a hysterical, erratic suspect who is spinning wild lies to cover a double homicide, and she finally starts looking at her as the victim of a highly sophisticated, well-funded operation.
Concurrently, Detective Baxter is making moves on his end. He visits Dennis's seemingly abandoned house. Instead of doing a cursory glance and leaving, he actually investigates.
He actually does his job.
Right. He finds the subtle, suspicious aftermath of Paula's brutal, desperate fight with Ash Dennis's goon from earlier in the season. The police are finally piecing the timeline together.
And then they get the massive break. The cops pull the exterior security footage from the prison. They track the license plates of the car Jennifer drove to Rikers to impersonate the lawyer. It turns out to be a stolen red Prius.
And because we live in a modern surveillance state covered in traffic cameras and license plate readers, this digital breadcrumb trail leads Baxter on a direct, high-speed collision course with the hitwoman.
This development introduces a fascinating discussion about the thriller genre itself, specifically the well-worn trope of police incompetence.
Oh, I love talking about this trope.
Right. In mystery narratives featuring an amateur sleuth, writers are frequently forced to make the police inexplicably stupid, just so the protagonist has a reason to exist. If the police were perfectly competent and utilized modern forensic technology efficiently, the show would be resolved in 2 episodes.
Exactly. If the cops just dusted for prints properly, checked the cell tower data, and looked at the security cameras on day 1, Paula wouldn't have to be out here risking her life. She could just go back to fact-checking magazine articles and fighting with Karl.
Precisely. But what Maximum Pleasure Guarantee does so brilliantly is modulate that incompetence. The police weren't entirely stupid. They were operating on the most logical Occam's razor assumption based on the incredibly thorough fabricated evidence that Dennis provided.
Which is fair, given the evidence.
The writers held the police back just long enough to force Paula into a corner, stripping away her safety nets and forcing her to become the active protagonist of her own survival story. She had to become the detective because the system failed her.
And now that she has done the heavy analytical lifting, the police are catching up to provide the tactical muscle.
I love that interpretation of Paula as the brilliant underdog. However, the Reddit community is absolutely roasting the writers right now for how they are handling the villain's tradecraft in these episodes.
Oh, they are tearing them apart.
The Snark Squad on the forums is pointing out that these supposed elite corporate spies are acting like complete amateurs.
The operational security of the Suitor Group is definitely unraveling.
Let me read you these comments because they are hilarious and they make such a good point. User ManFCKEdit wrote, "A professional hitwoman that's able to hop in and out of buildings, scale rooftops without leaving fingerprints, a cold blood killer, goes to a prison where there's of course cameras everywhere, outing herself forever, and then drives the same stolen car around that was on prison cams for presumably days or a week."
It's a great point.
Another user, Lucius Warbaby, chimed in, "These professionals make amateur mistakes, like keeping a stolen car for more than one job."
It is a highly valid critique of the plot mechanics. In the real world, a high-level corporate fixer operating at the behest of a billionaire firm would burn a stolen vehicle immediately after utilizing it at a high-security federal facility like Rikers Island.
You would think.
Keeping the same stolen car for days while hunting another target is incredibly sloppy. It implies a level of hubris or budget constraint that contradicts the premise of the Suitor Group.
It is complete amateur hour. If you are going to be a shadow assassin, rent a zip car and use a fake ID. Don't drive the hot Prius to your next murder.
Well, they needed a way for Baxter to find her.
And the fans aren't just coming for the villains. They are poking fun at Paula's behavior in these high-stakes situations, too.
Paula's situational awareness is notoriously terrible.
User Euphoric Run 6919 noted, "The way Paula moves with no sense of urgency or fear is unreal. Like, you just got visited by 2 lawyers. The person you killed disappeared. Your friend just got attacked, and you're just climbing through the woods, not even looking behind yourself."
She really was just strolling.
I mean, I have to ask you, is Paula actually a brilliant, calculating detective who is 2 steps ahead of the cops? Or is she just a chaotic mess fueled by sheer, oblivious desperation who keeps getting lucky?
I would diagnose her behavior as a potent mixture of both.
How so?
Intellectually, she possesses the analytical mind of a magazine researcher, which allows her to synthesize disparate data points like the East patent and the Yale admission that the police entirely missed. But emotionally and tactically, she is operating on pure, unregulated adrenaline and severe trauma.
Which makes you sloppy.
When you have lost your reputation, your freedom is constantly threatened, and you are on the verge of permanently losing custody of your child, hyperfocus can manifest as obliviousness. She isn't checking her six in the woods because she is so intensely, pathologically fixated on the target ahead of her, Cecilia Vanderwall.
Which brings us perfectly to the climax of the episode, the sequence that sent my Apple Watch heart rate monitor into the red zone, the woods, the sniper, and that explosive, agonizing cliffhanger.
I need to verbally process the final minutes of Erroneous before I lose my mind. It is a masterclass in cross-cutting editing and escalating tension. The director perfectly balanced three intersecting character trajectories.
Paula, armed with the newly discovered knowledge that Cecilia Vanderwall is the puppet master behind the suitor group, decides to go rogue. She crashes a highly exclusive, high-stakes corporate golf retreat to confront Cecilia directly.
Bold move.
She is marching purposefully through the dense woods bordering the manicured golf course, completely, terrifyingly unaware that she is being actively hunted.
The visual contrast between the untamed woods and the sterile, controlled environment of the golf course is a great metaphor for Paula's disruption of the suitor group's reality.
And stalking her through those woods is Jennifer, the hit woman. We watch Jennifer methodically, silently assemble a massive, suppressed sniper rifle. She settles into a prone position in the brush, adjusting her scope, preparing to permanently eliminate Paula from the board.
The cinematography here is crucial. The director utilizes extreme wide shots to emphasize Paula's complete vulnerability in the landscape. She is quite literally in the crosshairs, a tiny target oblivious to the predator.
But then the twist. Detective Baxter, having successfully tracked the pinging GPS of that stolen red Prius, manages to sneak up behind Jennifer in the woods. He draws his service weapon, he levels it at the back of the assassin's head, he orders her to drop the sniper rifle. The tension is at an absolute fever pitch.
I was on the edge of my seat.
I am screaming at my television. And then a single gunshot rings out. And the screen cuts to black.
It is the defining moment of the season so far, and the mechanics of how the director constructed this cliffhanger are fascinating to break down. They didn't leave it entirely ambiguous. They seeded specific visual and auditory clues throughout the scene for the audience to dissect and obsess over for a week.
Yes, I need your analytical brain on these clues because the internet detectives on Reddit have been working overtime, and I don't know what to believe.
First, we have to analyze the visual setup prior to the confrontation. Earlier in the sequence, the camera made a very deliberate, lingering point to zoom in on a secondary handgun holstered inside Jennifer's jacket.
I missed that.
In the visual language of television, you do not feature a secondary weapon that prominently in the frame unless it is going to be utilized. It is Chekhov's concealed carry.
Okay, that terrifies me. And then there is the sound design. According to the hyper-observant fans with expensive sound bars, the acoustic profile of the gunshot that ends the episode did not match a suppressed sniper rifle.
No, it didn't.
It sounded loud. It sounded like a standard unsuppressed handgun. Furthermore, in the final split second before the cut to black, a flock of birds flies up from the trees directly above where Baxter and Jennifer are positioned.
Which is a huge clue.
This implies a loud, localized disturbance, which contradicts the quiet thwip of a silencer. And most importantly, it implies the shot didn't happen down by the fence line where Paula was walking.
If we extrapolate from those specific Foley and visual clues, we are left with two competing theories for how this resolves in the opening seconds of next week's finale. Theory number one, Baxter fired his unsuppressed service weapon, shooting Jennifer in the back to save Paula.
But from a narrative standpoint, that feels incredibly unlikely, doesn't it? It resolves the tension way too cleanly. It's too easy. It turns the police into a literal deus ex machina that swoops in and saves the day without Paula ever having to confront the physical danger herself or make a difficult choice.
Precisely. It violates the established character arc of Paula needing to save herself. Which brings us to the much more likely and vastly more devastating theory number two. Jennifer, when confronted by Baxter, feigned surrender, utilized the hidden handgun we saw earlier, and shot the detective.
I feel sick. If Jennifer shot Baxter, that changes the entire landscape of the show. It leaves the hit woman alive and armed. It leaves Paul completely unprotected and oblivious as she marches toward the finale, and leaves a dead cop bleeding out in the woods.
And the fandom is completely torn on how to process this level of unresolved stress. User Leftoff perfectly captured the duality, stating, "Oh my god, this show, they are masters of writing cliffhangers. I love it, and I'm so frustrated at the same time, lol."
I feel that in my soul.
But user Yet Another Bad Salmon was significantly less forgiving of the emotional manipulation, writing, Please, F off with the F-thing cliffhangers. It highlights the fragile love-hate relationship audiences have with episodic tension in the streaming era. We want to binge, and being forced to wait feels like a punishment.
It is a punishment. But think about what this means for our girl. If Baxter is dead, the narrative stakes for Paula just escalated from dire to apocalyptic. Think about the physical evidence.
Really bad.
Paula is already out on bail for a double murder she's been framed for. She is currently wandering around in the woods near a corporate retreat where a murder just took place. If the police arrive and find Detective Baxter dead, and they find Paula's footprints or DNA anywhere near that crime scene, does Paula go down for a third murder?
The dramatic irony would be suffocating. The very act of trying to clear her name by confronting Cecilia could irrevocably condemn her. It would be the ultimate effortless victory for the suitor group.
Which they don't deserve.
They wouldn't even have to risk assassinating her anymore. They could just let the criminal justice system bury her under a mountain of incredibly damning circumstantial evidence.
It is a terrifying prospect, and it perfectly sets the stage for next week's massive Season 1 finale, which is ominously titled Queens. The sheer weight of the stakes going into this final hour is crushing. Paula is dangerously close to exposing the billionaire leadership of the suitor group. The custody hearing that will permanently determine if she ever sees Hazel again is looming large. Her work friends have finally rallied to her side, but her real family has abandoned her to the wolves. And most urgently, a bullet has just been fired in the woods, leaving at least one life hanging in the balance.
The tension is palpable. But before we wrap up the analysis portion of the podcast, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought, an unmentioned twist for you to ponder before the finale airs.
Oh, I love when you get conspiratorial. Lay your wildcard theory on me.
Let us objectively consider the operational nature of the suitor group. Their entire multi-billion-dollar business model relies on acquiring deep, dark secrets, investigating targets, and leveraging that information to control powerful people.
Right.
They value intelligence, resourcefulness, relentless research, and the ability to uncover hidden truths against impossible odds.
Okay, I'm following your logic.
Now look at Paula's resume over the last 9 episodes. She is a disgraced, unemployed magazine fact-checker who, working mostly alone in her apartment with a MacBook and a corkboard, just single-handedly unraveled their highly classified, heavily guarded corporate espionage operation.
Oh my God.
She outsmarted their veteran fixer, she out-researched their corporate targets, she evaded their assassins, and she tracked the billionaire CEO to her private doorstep.
I see where you're going with this, and I hate it.
What if the suitor group's endgame in the finale isn't to kill Paula? What if Cecilia Vanderwall looks at the absolute path of destruction Paula has carved through their organization and realizes that Paula is exactly the kind of relentless, brilliant asset they need on their payroll?
No. She would never accept that.
Think about the leverage, bestie. What if the price of Paula's freedom, the only way she can magically stay out of prison for these 3 framed murders, the only way she can retain full custody of Hazel and defeat Mallory in court is to accept a job offer?
Stop it right now.
What if the ultimate soul-crushing cliffhanger of Season 1 is Paula being forced to go to work for the very monster she has spent the entire season trying to destroy?
That is the darkest, most unhinged theory you have ever presented, and it makes complete thematic sense. It would trap her in a moral prison that is infinitely worse than a cell at Rikers Island. She would have her daughter, but she would lose her soul. I'm going to be thinking about that all week.
It asks the ultimate psychological question of the series. What are you willing to compromise to save the things you love?
I need another vodka cranberry just to process that. Okay, we need to lighten the mood before we log off, which means it is time for our favorite segments. Welcome to the Snark Side, Segment 1, Green Flag or Run. I'm forcing you to choose the biggest green flag and the biggest red flag from this episode.
The biggest red flag is undeniably Karl. Passivity in the face of injustice is a massive red flag in any partner. If your partner watches someone actively try to destroy you and just shrugs because they don't want to deal with the paperwork, you need to run, not walk, away from that relationship.
Hard agree. Karl is the human equivalent of a check engine light that has been taped over. My biggest green flag is Steve delivering the printed photos of Hazel's art show. In a digital age, taking the time to go to a pharmacy, print physical photographs, and hand-deliver them to someone who is socially exiled is top-tier communication and effort.
I still say he has the savior complex, but I will allow it. Segment 2, hot take, hot seat. I will go first. My controversial opinion is that Gary was entirely justified in writing the article about Paula initially.
You are trying to start a fight with me. Hear me out. Paula was acting erratically. She was bringing dangerous criminals to their place of work, and she was refusing to go to the police. Jerry is a journalist. She saw a story unfolding in front of her. Was it ruthless? Yes. Was it bad friendship? Yes. But from a purely professional standpoint, seizing the opportunity to document a crime ring is what a good reporter does.
That is a vile take. You do not monetize your best friend's trauma for a promotion. My hot take is that Dennis was never actually scary.
Now, who is trying to start a fight? Dennis murdered 2 people.
But he's just a guy. He's a guy who wears leather jackets and glowers. The real terror of this show is the bureaucracy. I'm more afraid of Joyce, the Yale admissions officer, than I am of Dennis. Joyce has the power to destroy a teenager's entire future with a keystroke. Dennis just punches people. Violence is boring. Institutional corruption is terrifying.
That is a surprisingly analytical take from you. Moving on to segment 3. Could this relationship survive? Out of all the dynamics we saw this week, who makes it in the real world and who implodes? Karl and Mallory are going to implode in spectacular fashion.
Yeah.
Right now, they are bonded over a mutual enemy, Paula. They are riding the high of tearing her down.
Yeah.
But once Paula is out of the picture, Mallory's controlling, aggressive nature is going to turn entirely on Karl. He is too passive to handle her, and she will eventually despise his weakness. They will be divorced in 3 years.
I agree completely. Their foundation is built on malice, not love. The relationship most likely to survive, ironically, is Paula and Rudy. They have transitioned from co-workers to trauma-bonded war buddies. Surviving a shared life-threatening event, especially when one person literally bleeds for the other, creates an unbreakable platonic bond. They will be trauma-dumping on each other for the rest of their lives.
I love that for them. Okay, final segment. Next week's predictions. We are manifesting the finale.
My biggest prediction is that Baxter is dead, and Jennifer frames Paula for it using the stolen Prius. The plot twist will be that Cecilia Vanderwaal doesn't even know who Paula is when Paula confronts her. It will highlight the absolute insignificance of Paula in the grand corporate scheme.
Oh, that would be a brutal twist. To realize you are fighting a boss who doesn't even know your name. My biggest prediction is that Jerry ends up saving the day. She dropped the article, but she still has all the research. I think she publishes a massive expose on the Suitor group that blows the whistle and gets the feds involved, clearing Paula's name. And my chaotic theory, the couple most likely to surprise everyone is Steve and wait for it, Mallory.
I am hanging up the microphones. That is unhinged.
Think about it. Mallory loves a project, and Steve is way too nice. It's the classic toxic woman, golden retriever man dynamic.
We are officially spiraling. On that note, we have to wrap up.
Thank you so much for joining us on this chaotic investigation, babes.
Yeah.
We want to hear from the Snark Squad in the comments. What is the biggest green flag someone can have in the dating out trenches right now? Are evening walks actually therapeutic, or are we just lying to ourselves to justify buying expensive sneakers? And which couple are you desperately rooting for in the finale?
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review unless you are a patient from my clinic, in which case, please just start flossing and share the podcast with another messy babe in your life.
We will see you next time as we dive into the season finale.
Yeah.
Until then, stay flirty, stay chaotic, and we'll see you on the Snark side.